Laffit Pincay with NBC Sports, Armen and Levack, 104.5. The team Levack's out today. And, of course, Laffit was part of the TV broadcast of the Triple Crown on Saturday at Belmont Park. And, Laffit, your dad is a legendary jockey in the business. You've been around horse racing your entire life. Can you put into words what that moment was like for you at Belmont Park on Saturday?
Truthfully, a state of shock set in for a few seconds. Like, are you truly, can you believe what you're seeing? At some point, the Triple Crown started to feel like the Loch Ness Monster or Bigfoot, and then actually seeing them with your own two eyes. Legendary. This stuff doesn't happen. And there were a lot of handicappers and experts that I really respect over the last few years that said, you know what, we're getting farther and farther away from a Triple Crown champion than actually closer to one. And then American Pharoah comes along. He puts on that show in front of that electric 90,000 crowd at Belmont Park. It was pure pandemonium, a moment I'll never forget. The roar was deafening, and that venerable racing venue was shaking.
Oh, so cool. Laffit Pincay of NBC Sports. Laffit, you've been around Pharoah. A lot of comparisons being drawn to Secretariat. Can we say that he is the second greatest horse of all time? Or would you rate him after what you saw last week, this past weekend?
Wow, Armen, that's tough. That's really tough. Secretariat set the bar very high, and I want to say I read somewhere that because right away after it sinks in that he's won the Triple Crown, immediately it's where's his place in history, and that's yet to be determined because his career is not yet over, and he has a few more races this year. But I saw somewhere that Secretariat, had he run against American Pharoah and comparing times, that he would have tied American Pharoah to a pole and ran right by him, this and that. It's so difficult to compare horses of different eras. I don't know that I don't believe we'll ever see another Secretariat, but we don't have to. Secretariat, and American Pharoah is American Pharoah. Now, a true hero to the sport, ending the longest drought in Triple Crown history, and now one of the 12 members of this very exclusive fraternity of Triple Crown winners.
Laffit, what does this mean for the sport? We really don't know, right? I mean, we obviously we're in Saratoga. I mean, how does this affect Saratoga? Do we have any idea?
Uncharted territory. Yeah. Do we shut it all down and go home because it doesn't get any better from here? I don't know. I'm hosting a show Saturday night from Churchill Downs on NBCSN. We're covering the Foster. It's now been extended to a 2-hour show because American Pharoah's back at Churchill Downs, and he's going to be paraded in front of the crowd. The Foster in itself will draw a nice crowd every year, but it's going to be insane with American Pharoah here and people wanting to get an up close and personal look at the Triple Crown winner. But what this week is going to be like for the Zayat family, for Bob Baffert, for Victor Espinosa, we know what it's like leading up to the Belmont for Triple Crown. The tour of the city, the throwing out the first pitch at the Met-Yankee game, there's the ringing of the stock exchange. We have no idea what these guys are going to be doing, what it's going to be like this week.
Can you give us an idea? NBC Sports, Laffit Pincay with Armen and Levack, 104.5, the team. Levack's out, Armen riding solo. Laffit, an idea of the breeding money a horse like American Pharoah will get?
So we knew he was sold right after the Preakness. That's when it was announced. He's going to go to Coolmore Ashford Stud. After this year, he'll finish his career as a 3-year-old racehorse, begin his career as a stud in 2016. We don't know. There's a lot of different figures being thrown around, but we discussed this on the show on Saturday. If a firm was syndicated, if a firm was purchased his breeding rights for $14.4 million in 1979, who knows what the number is with American Pharoah, considering the incentives that went on if he won the Derby, Preakness, and Belmont. I have no idea.
That's insane. NBC Sports, Laffit Pincay with Armen and Levack. All right, Laffit, the odds that American Pharoah races here in Saratoga, they seem kind of good at this point, don't they?
Wouldn't that be one of the next logical steps if he's ready? Absolutely. Bob Baffert, I believe he's won one Travers. It's a race that's sort of been a thorn in his side that he's had some trouble with, and really good horses. Byron, the Breeders' Cup Classic winner, ran last in last year's Travers. The key is, how much time does it take American Pharoah to recover? Now, this had to take something out of him. I mean, he is still flesh and blood. So he needs a prep race and then a target date. And it's possible. It's possible because we have June, July. You're talking about 7 or so weeks off before a prep race, and then the Travers. He's not going to run the Travers fresh, but if he comes back in good order, that's a possibility. Maybe you see him in some smaller, somewhat of an easier spot, get his leg back underneath him, and look, how much would we love to see American Pharoah in the Midsummer Derby? If you have the Derby, the Preakness, and the Belmont, the Travers isn't that far behind those individual American classics.
Well, we'd love to see it up here. I know some wackos that'll go start camping out next week, if that's the case. You kidding me? Absolutely.
And rightfully so.
It would be insane around here, Laffit. Laffit Pincay of NBC Sports with Armen and Levack. Bob Baffert, the trainer of American Pharoah. What was it like being around him on Saturday?
He's been so confident all along with American Pharoah, but there's no arrogance. There's no cockiness. Look, Bob Baffert's a different guy. And you go through a life-changing event, and you start, your mortality is questioned. He had a heart attack in Dubai getting ready for the World Cup a few years ago. And what you're seeing on camera, it's genuine. That's who he is. He'll be the first to tell you. He used to be kind of brash, very confident, borderline arrogant at times. He's a different guy, and he appreciates it so much more. And he's so happy for the people. In the Preakness, he was first talking about the people of Baltimore and everything that city had just gone through, and he was happy that American Pharoah was able to provide that uplifting sort of shot in the arm. The people of New York at Belmont, he said that he knew American Pharoah was going to win a mile out, and at that point, he was watching the horse, but he was taking in the crowd and all of their energy, and so happy that he had something to do with racing, finally getting a chance to see something we've been starved to see for closing in on 4 decades. And I think it's great to see someone who we can change, and Bob Baffert certainly has, which I think for a lot of people makes it a lot easier to root for him specifically.
Did you get a souvenir? Is there something you'll remember this moment for forever with?
Yeah, the show on my DVR that I have that I was on. I got that, and I got my. I didn't get a $2 ticket, but I also got a. Obviously the credential. You get the newspapers and all of that. It's historic, and who knows when we'll see another Triple Crown winner. Bob Costas opened the show by saying, if we wait another 37 years, he says, I will have been expired, or I'll be 100 years old. He started doing the math as far as how long it would be for another Triple Crown winner if we had to wait 37 years. So yeah, it was special.
Yeah, he had some great words for that moment on Saturday for sure. Victor Espinoza, what kind of guy is Victor Espinoza?
Quiet.
Yeah.
Quiet, reserved. There's a quiet confidence there. There's an intense competitor there. And I talked to him on Friday. We did a show and had a chance to interview him. And I was pointing out, look, by 7 o'clock Saturday night, you're either going to be the pilot that ended the longest drought in Triple Crown history, or like the guy who could not get it done with 3 separate opportunities. All right, excuse or otherwise, that's going to be your legacy. This is a career-defining, legacy-defining moment. And if he had given it a chance to think about it, and while he still sort of sidestepped it and tried to kind of push aside all the pressure, that's the professional in him, that he's still able to maintain that sense of focus when so much was right on the line, not just for Baffert in his 4th try, not just for the sport, the weight of an industry on his shoulders, but his legacy. He could have gone on to win 10 more Kentucky Derbies, and he still would have been the guy who couldn't get it done with 3 separate tries on a Triple Crown stage.
Oh, man, legendary and historic weekend, and Laffit Pincay of NBC Sports was part of the crew that brought that to us. Laffit, thanks so much for your time today, and just saying, Levack and I are going to be broadcasting live every Friday at Saratoga throughout the entire season. We'd love to have you stop by and party with us one Friday, man.
Absolutely. We'll be there for the Travers, and I'll look for you guys. It's a pleasure as always, Armen.
You're the best. Talk to you soon.
Take care, bud.